Good morning. I'm Pastor Lee, and I would like to welcome you again to the St. Luke's Gospel Radio Show. Today we're going to be talking about Peter's vision. Now, I would like to start a small couple episode programs on dreams and visions. The subject has been coming up here quite regularly, and I think it'd be interesting to share the stories of dreams and visions and explain, what they are and how we have them and so forth. But today we're going to start off with Peter's vision. Cornelius. He was a Roman soldier in the city of Caesarea. He was an officer. He was in charge of about 100 soldiers. He was a centurion. He and all his family really feared God. They helped the poor, and they prayed to God regularly. Now one day, about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, he had a vision. Sometimes God communicates with people, in this way, through dreams and visions. Cornelius saw an angel in his vision who called him by his name. "Cornelius," the angel said. Now, Cornelius was very frightened and recognized that the vision was from God. Cornelius said, "What is it, Lord?" And the angel said that God knew about the kind things that he has done for the poor and that his prayers have been heard. He was told to send men to the city of Joppa and bring back a man named Peter who was staying with Simon the tanner in Simon's house by the sea. When the angel was gone, Cornelius called 2 of his servants and 1 of his soldiers. He trusted these guys to go to Joppa and find Peter. The town was about 30 miles away from where he was. Before we go any further with our story, we need to mention something about the Jews and the Gentiles. If a person was not a Jew, he or she was a Gentile. And the Jews, hated the Gentiles because they were not part of God's chosen people. They would not really associate themselves with anyone and would have no dealings at all with them. In our story, we have a Cornelius, who was a Gentile, sending a message to Peter, who was a Jew. Now, what will be Peter's reaction? He's not supposed to have any dealings, with these so-called unclean persons. Well, about noon the next day, getting back to our story, the 3 men approached the city of Joppa. Peter had become very hungry, and, while he was eating a meal, he was, being prepared. How do I want to put this? He was up on a rooftop praying. The roofs in that era were flat roofs. In the warm weather, the family might sleep up on the roof because they were nice and flat. And the law of Moses stated that when people built a house, they had to put up walls around the edges of the roof so they would not be responsible for any injuries if someone had, fallen off the roof. That's in Deuteronomy 22:8. So the wall was usually about 4 feet high. Peter fell into a trance, a dreamlike state, and he saw heaven open up and a huge sheet being let down by its 4 corners. And in this sheet were all kinds of four-footed animals and birds and reptiles. And a voice told him to get up, Peter, kill and eat. According to the law of Moses, certain animals were clean, which were suitable for eating, and certain animals were unclean. The people of Israel were commanded not to eat these unclean animals. Possibly God was trying to protect them from some sort of disease carried by these animals. We don't know. But the class of animals described in detail in Leviticus chapter 11 were the unclean animals, and they included the camel, the badger, the rabbit, the lizard, the pig, and they could eat no pork, such as ham or bacon, no fish, anything that had scales or fins, such as the catfish, were unclean. Certain birds, mainly scavenger birds, birds of prey, were all unclean. The eagle, the hawk, the vulture, the owl, the gull, the stork, and the bat were all considered unclean. What was Peter to do? He could not eat any unclean animals. Yet, the voice he had heard said, kill and eat. And these pictures on this towel or this cloth were all unclean animals. So Peter answered, surely not, Lord. I have never eaten anything impure or unclean. The voice again spoke a second time and told him that God has made them clean, and Peter was not to call them unclean. 3 times the voice told him to kill and eat. Then the sheet suddenly was taken back up into heaven, and then while Peter was really puzzled over what the vision could have meant, the 3 men sent by Cornelius have just arrived and stopped at the gate and asking if Simon Peter was staying there. So the stage was set and everything is ready. The Spirit of the Lord told Peter that 3 men were looking for him and that he was to go downstairs and go with them. The Spirit had said that he had sent the 3 men to him. So Peter went downstairs and told them that he was the person they were looking for. And why have you come? He asked. And the 3 men told how an angel appeared to their master and told Cornelius to send them to Joppa for Peter. He invited them into the house to be his guests for a while. Now, Peter understood that no longer he should be considered the Gentiles unclean, because God had accepted them, and that he, Peter, would be the one to tell the good news about Jesus to them. Now that's really, not only do we got, the dreams and visions and so on and so forth, but God, in this last section here, God has told Peter that these people, the Jews and the Gentiles, were no longer unclean because God has accepted them. So it doesn't matter your social status. God accepts everyone. And that is a awesome little story, but Peter knew that going into the house of Cornelius would make him very unpopular, especially with his fellow Jews. But he knew that God accepts everyone. The first time he knew it. without a shadow of a doubt. So they looked down, really, upon the Gentiles and would have nothing to do with them. So Peter was kind of worried in a sense, but sometimes you may be tempted to shun someone who is different. Your friends may ridicule you or avoid a certain person because he or she looks different or acts different or has a different social status than they do or we do. But it takes courage to talk to and become friends with somebody that is not accepted. Their reasons for not being accepted may be based on, just plain being prejudged. And you can be an accepted friend from anyone. And God let that known in Peter's vision. So God can communicate with us through dreams and visions, and through a simple vision, God let Peter know that it doesn't matter who the people are. God accepts everyone. If we accept God, God will accept us. Amen. That is, Peter's vision is a wonderful story. It tells a lot of tales. I shouldn't call it tales, but you know what I mean. It teaches you a lot just in the vision itself. So anyway, I know it's been roughly 12 minutes, but I'm going to have to be running off. This is Sunday. I do have some services to attend to today. So I'll be back on hopefully this week sometime and give you a good full 45 minutes podcast. But anyway, I was just glad to jump on here today. I hope you guys enjoyed the little lesson, and I'll be seeing you soon. Take care, everybody, and God bless you.